He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers.
The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say
I'm also supporting an across-the-board pay raise for every sailor and service member in the United States Armed Forces.
Donald Trump just hinted at something no U.S. president has dared: a possible third term in power. His ally Steve Bannon says it's coming, then Trump just gave the U.S. military a pay raise, winning their loyalty for when that moment comes. But here's the twist: this isn't just about America. What's unfolding in Washington could reshape Africa's trade, diplomacy, and even its democracy. Stay with me, because what Trump is building now could affect every African nation watching this. Before we break it down, hit like so this truth reaches more Africans, and subscribe if you believe Africa must never sleep on global power moves.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's in his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through Zanny and define all those terms.
But you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it.
If the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up?
Well,
would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all. Trump
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
I guess that's why it seems to me some kind of tension
there. First off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people. Okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started.
One theory on how you might try to serve a third term is that you could run as the vice president.
Yeah, I'd be allowed to do that.
Is it the White House or the White House counsel to your legal position?
No, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't do that. I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out because it's too cute. I think the people wouldn't like that. It's too cute. It's not, it wouldn't be right.
The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. Mm-hmm. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. but this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican, to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
The Constitution does prohibit it. Some of your allies are pretty serious about this, though, Mr. President. I've spoken to them. They say they are coming up with potential ways.
Well,
obviously, the biggest one would be a constitutional amendment.
That's because they like the job I'm doing, and it's a compliment.
Has anyone in an official capacity presented you with, sir, here are some ideas by which you could actually get a constitutional amendment?
In a capacity of being a big supporter, many people have said different things, but I'm not looking at that.
Trump is secretly planning his 3rd term. And if you think that sounds impossible, you haven't been paying attention, because you don't build a private ballroom, you don't rebuild your political machine if you're planning to walk away in 2028. 3 facts right now should terrify every American. First, Steve Bannon, Trump's longtime ally, has confirmed it. He says Trump's inner circle is already working on a legal and financial plan to make a 3rd term possible. It's funded, organized, and waiting to launch. Second, Trump's administration is forming a National Guard response force, a nationwide unit trained for crowd control and unrest. Their target date, 2026. And that's not all. Trump's poll watchers are being deployed only to blue states like California and New Jersey. Not one is going to red states. Why? Because they're not preparing for victory. They're preparing to claim fraud when they lose. To say once again that the system was rigged. And this time, they're making sure the FBI, DOJ, and every loyal agency is ready to back them up. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. Trump isn't planning to leave quietly. He's building the stage for a permanent presidency.
What a walk-on. President Trump got a hero's welcome from U.S. service members in Japan, and he gave them a big surprise with this.
As we make a record investment in our military, we've never spent so much, and we've never spent it more wisely, because now we watch it. We spend it properly. I'm also supporting an across-the-board pay raise for every sailor and service member in the United States Armed Forces.
Can I get a heck yeah, Griff? That's amazing.
It was. And, you know, the videos coming out of his visit from Margot Martin at the White House, there was also, he was doing the Trump dance to singing YMCA. They love him, Emily. They love him because they know, they feel that they've got a commander-in-chief that has their back. And they're not just giving him a raise, but really respecting them as much as he respects them. And I think it's a really telling thing. Look, President Trump is really on an upbeat momentum because he's had success so far in his first trip this term to Southeast Asia. But taking time to be with those troops, I've spent a lot of time overseas. Troops, even when you just show up, it's like something to show them that you recognize them. We you know, are glad and are so happy for what you're doing. He actually turned it into a whole event, and I think the raise was obviously a big takeaway, and they care about that, but it's a lot more than that.
Coming from military families, I just also want to sort of harken back to, remember in the Doge era, when we talked about the appropriate stewardship of tax dollars. It's not about not spending. It's about spending wisely and in line with American values. And resoundingly, it is to support and take care of our military members.
Well, in making this particular time in our history with the federal shutdown and having a donor, someone who Trump knows to help out that bottom line for those active duty right now is a fine point on where his priorities are. Not the ballroom, unless we're talking about the White House, but the actual keepers of our sovereignty as a nation. That's important to him. You know what I love about this moment? Because he is having a lot of success in Asia. You would know that by watching the alphabet soup networks and liberal and legacy ones. But among all of that, it's multifaceted, that multitasking. He is happy. You feel his joy. He carries out who we are as a country with great potential, and we're exceptional. It's also a charm offensive. And when he really bestows love on our military, he also knows that that shows the world that I appreciate them. So when it's time to promise that we will keep our promises to hold you accountable, you can trust that we have each other's backs. There's a multifaceted messaging there, I believe, with this president, and it's good.
There's a certain climate that this president inherited, Kayleigh, and frankly, the military infrastructure had been allowed to rot. There was mold in our military housing. There are many, many military members who are still in food pantry lines despite their current service and their families. So it was a thin and precarious situation that finally this president and the Secretary of War and the Secretary of Veterans Affairs have come together to say no more. It's a long time coming, but it's so gratefully received that now our military members will be rewarded commensurate with their bravery and sacrifice.
Yes. I mean, taken care of from the VA and so on and so forth, all of the things going back to the Obama administration that President Trump rectified, but also the decisions made in the Situation Room about the Abbey Gate by Biden, where I would argue it was a dereliction of duty, the way Afghanistan and that exit was handled. President Trump, all three of his speeches, the media is going nuts. Like, how dare he bring up politics to the military? Trump is who he is. He has fun on any stage he's in. So you guys obsess over that. But the most important thing he said, and this was in his his speech to the generals, my message to you is very simple. I'm with you. I support you. As president, I have your backs 100%. That is so true. And our military has heard that, and they feel that.
They feel that. And we talked about that before the election when President Trump resoundingly won. There were a lot of military members and agency members throughout the federal government that I know of personally that had their retirement papers ready to submit if Kamala had won. And then when President Trump won, they said, this is a commander-in-chief that I know will put my safety and the alignment of American values first.
100%. And he empowered the armed forces because to him, nothing comes above them, really. They are the central bulwark of our republic, keeping us safe. My dad was an Army captain in the Vietnam War. He went to West Point. I cannot tell you how much he was heartened to know that Trump wanted to put our military first again and to build it so that it would be the preeminent on the world stage.
Yeah, bravo to that raise.
Disclaimer. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. Afriscope TV does not promote hate, violence, or misinformation. All content is based on publicly available data and expert commentary. Viewers are encouraged to think critically and verify independently.